Hi, I'm Miranda Cosgrove, and this is Mission Unstoppable. Coming up, can satellites in space help me figure out where I left my keys? Probably not, but they can help predict the future of life on Earth.
We can start to understand how our ecosystems are changing.
Then, can ice cream actually freeze your brain? Dr. Brain has the scoop.
It isn't actually your brain freezing that causes pain with an ice cream headache.
And these ocean-dwelling superstars are in need of protection. See how one woman is working to save the sea dragons and seahorses.
It's my hope that people will see how amazing these fish are.
Then, technology has made everything easier, from navigating the world to sharing dance moves to creating incredible landscapes. Get ready to meet the scientists, inventors, and heroes who help make our world a better place. The future is here. The mission, unstoppable. Wildfires have a reputation for being, well, wild. But with science, we can track where they might be headed next. Not me personally, but science people, like Dr. Melanie Vanderhoof.
The first man-made satellite was launched into space over 60 years ago. Its mission was to study black holes, find galaxies far, far away, and maybe even discover alien life. But did you know satellites can also tell us all about this great blue marble we call home? As climate change and extreme weather impact our planet, we are relying more and more on satellites to help us see the big picture. And there's one scientist who has these satellites on speed dial. Meet Dr. Melanie Vanderhoof.
I think I became interested in STEM when I was quite young, just in that I really enjoyed being in nature and walking through nature. I've always loved animals. But I also had a high school science teacher that just made science really interesting and fun and hands-on and gave me the confidence to go into science in college.
Melanie discovered she could help protect the homes of the animals she loves by studying their ecosystems using, you guessed it, satellite imagery. And today, I'm visiting her at the United States Geological Survey to get a closer look.
So you're a research geographer. Tell me all about it.
I am. I'm a research geographer for the U.S. Geological Survey. I use data from satellites to study extreme events like droughts, floods, and wildfires.
Melanie explains that satellites measure how light reflects off objects on the Earth's surface. This is called reflectance. Snow, trees, and water all have different levels of reflectance. Satellites collect this information in layers, or bands. There's what our eyes can see, which is red, green, and blue spectral bands. But they're also picking up information our eyes can't see, like infrared wavelengths. Taken all together, this gives us a whole bunch of information about our world.
Would you like to take a closer look at what we do?
Yeah, for sure.
You might think you need some kind of special NASA-level control center to communicate with space, but as I'm about to learn, all you really need is a laptop.
So I've got two images from Sentinel-2, which is a satellite. These are both from southwestern Mexico.
Oh, I was going to say it looks like the moon. Never mind.
Melanie shows me a satellite image of a site where several wildfires occurred in 2019. The areas where vegetation burned are dark because they reflect less light. These are the parts that appear red when the image is classified using the spectral bands. By using satellite data collected over the last 10 years, Melanie can see where the trees are growing back and where they're not.
So I can see in this part where the fire has already burned, but how's that going to help us in the future?
So we can use burned area data sets, start to look at post-fire recovery and trends, and start to understand how our ecosystems are changing in response to fire and how that will continue to change with climate change.
Because climate change impacts water levels, Melanie shows an example of how satellite data was used in Montana to help restore water to streams that were too low for the fish and farmers. Conservationists mimicked beavers and built dams to reconnect streams with the floodplains. Melanie and her team used a series of satellite images taken over time to help measure the impact of their work.
If you're on the ground, you might look around and say, well, this area looks better to us, but we can only see this much of it. But with your help, you can really see the entire extent of the whole area they were working on.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for today. This is super interesting, and the work you're doing is really important and truly global in scale. I just have one favor. Can you show me where my car is? Because I think my meter might be running a little low. Can you just zoom in really quick?
I don't think we're gonna be able to do that.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
This next story is about ice cream headaches. And you'd think that would be a good excuse for the host of the show to get some ice cream, right? Like just a few scoops of cookie dough to sell the segment? Just a little treat? Anyway, here's Dr. Brain. Really? Not even a half a scoop?
Don't you hate it when you're enjoying a lovely ice cream cone or a very cold drink and then suddenly, it's phenylpalatine ganglioneuralgia. Hi, I'm Dr. Brain. Okay, I mean, my real name is Crystal Dilworth, but I have a PhD in neuroscience, so it's just easier to call me Dr. Brain. So, I'm Dr. Brain! Phenylpalatine ganglioneuralgia is what scientists call brain freeze, or ice cream headache. It's that horrible but short-lived pain in our head that can be brought on by eating very cold foods. When a large part of our mouth and throat cools down quickly, the drop in temperature triggers a group of nerves above the palate called the phenylpalatine ganglion. And the nerves in this ganglion send signals that result in a sharp headache. And this ganglion is deep in there, about there. Your whole head's kind of freaky looking from this angle, right? Ganglion is a name scientists give to a collection of nerve cell bodies. There's many different ganglia in your body, a whole ganglia gang, if you will. Like the dorsal root ganglia, which is a collection of sensory nerve cells in your spinal cord, or the basal ganglia that contains the nerve cells important for motor control, deep in your brain. The one responsible for brain freeze, the phenylpalatine ganglion, is one of the largest collections of neurons outside the brain. The nerves here send signals to the lacrimal gland, which forms tears, the nasal mucosa inside our nose, and they control local blood flow. It isn't actually your brain freezing that causes pain with an ice cream headache. When the phenylpalatine ganglion detects the drop in temperature, it jumps into action to protect the brain from an oncoming freeze by constricting blood vessels, reducing blood flow, and activating the trigeminal nerve. The trigeminal nerve is responsible for conveying sensory information like pain, touch, and temperature sensations to the brain, and that causes headaches. A cold-induced headache usually lasts a few seconds to a few minutes. And interestingly, if you're one of the unlucky people who experiences migraine headaches, you're not only more likely to experience brain freeze, but it might also be more intense. Tough break. Try pressing your tongue to the roof of your mouth to heat things back up. Your tongue will transfer heat to the sinuses behind your nose, warm the nerve bundles, and allow the blood vessels to relax. Or you can try eating or drinking something at a warmer temperature to achieve the same result. So remember, I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream! Especially if you're experiencing a brain freeze.
Sometimes fish kind of look like a normal land animal, and it's important we keep the ocean weird like that. That's why we sent Nabil to meet a woman who's working to save seahorses and sea dragons.
You know the phrase, there's plenty of fish in the sea? Well, it's actually not true. We actually need way more fish in the sea. Well, here at Birch Aquarium in San Diego, scientists are actually trying to help by studying and protecting endangered fish like seahorses and sea dragons. Let's go find out more. And our guide to this underwater realm where horses and dragons roam is marine biology queen and associate curator Leslie Matsushige, whose job is to make sure that all the animals are happy and healthy.
Growing up in Hawaii, I really enjoyed being at the ocean, and I loved to explore tide pools. And that curiosity back then, I think led me to what I'm doing now.
And what Leslie Matsushige is doing now is working as the associate curator, making sure all the animals are happy and healthy. Hey Leslie, how's it going?
Hey, Nabil.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Wow, this is amazing. So tell me about the conservation work you do with sea dragons and seahorses.
What we're trying to do here is to mainly educate people about what sea dragons are and what seahorses are, and that they are an animal that is in our coastal habitats that are currently being threatened. It's my hope that people will see sea dragons and seahorses and see how amazing these fish are, and that they will understand the amazing diversity that our oceans hold, and that they will come to love our ocean and care for it and want to take care of it.
So what makes seahorses and sea dragons so amazing? Well, believe it or not, they're actually fish who belong to the same family. Although these colorful cousins may seem different, like how seahorses have a curled tail to anchor themselves, while their longer-snouted friends mostly drift along looking like floating seaweed, they also share things in common, like having a head that looks like a horse, bony plates that act as armor against predators, and the males being the ones who incubate and carry their eggs. Leslie tells me their goal is to replicate a habitat here at the aquarium similar to what the animals would find out in the wild, including food. But it's not quite as simple as going to the drive-thru, as she shows me in the plankton cultures area. So sea dragons, are they picky eaters? Would a sea dragon eat a french fry, a turkey leg?
I wish they would. No, they are very picky eaters.
So picky that Leslie and her team make a basic food chain to produce the nutritious diet for their aquatic creatures. Starting with phytoplankton, or tiny plant cells that float in the ocean. They feed that to zooplankton, or animal plankton, which they then feed to mysis shrimp. And finally, they feed the mysis shrimp to the sea dragons. That's a lot of work to make food for one animal in your aquarium.
It's a lot of work, but it's really important because they thrive with having enriched food.
Only the best for our sea dragon.
And another thing too is if they don't get enough nutrition, they may not be able to breed, and that's what we want. We want the adults to be healthy, breed, and produce babies.
So do you ever stand outside the sea dragon tank and watch the animals as if it's a soap opera? And you're like, Jack is trying to swim with Christine, but Christine's not about it.
I do keep track of who I see courting with each other, and every once in a while you'll see one kind of cut in.
Oh no.
So there is some sea dragon soap operas going on in the
I love that. Thank you, Leslie, for teaching me about these amazing creatures, and congrats on getting them to fall in love. Speaking of which, do you actually have any tips for humans? Should I start eating krill? Should I get into kelp? Dance lessons? What should I do?
Well, unless you want to live under the water, I really can't help you there.
Okay, well, it was worth a shot. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Land is normally fine on its own, but sometimes you need to give it a good scaping. That's why today we're talking to Donna Vinyaki-Zick, who's bringing cutting-edge technology to her landscaping business. To navigate the world, some people use their moral compass, but me, I use GPS. I mean, it's available in everything, from my car to my phone. It's even in my lawnmower. That's right. Who knew lawn care could be so cutting edge? I guess landscaping professionals and business owners like Donna Vinyaki-Zick.
I went to school for telecommunications, but math and science is something I always had an affinity for. I think technology is really, really important.
To learn more about the role of tech in her industry, Donna has come to a trade show featuring booths from hundreds of organizations. Our sponsor, the Turkmut Foundation, is passionate about educating the industry with an eye towards the future.
One of the misconceptions about landscaping is it's just mowing grass, but it requires skills in math and in science, engineering.
Among the newest tech are autonomous and robotic lawn care tools.
This is a robotic lawnmower, and it's all controlled by the app, and it goes out on its own. It knows exactly what to do and when to mow.
Robotic mowers can navigate themselves using one of a variety of methods. By cameras that see the space around them, or sensors that detect when an object, like a perimeter wire, is in its path.
And then there's another technology called RTK, which operates off of a reference station.
RTK stands for Real-Time Kinematic, which is a specialized form of GPS. GPS works when a receiver on Earth, like your car's navigational device, picks up radio signals from at least 4 of the 31 dedicated GPS satellites orbiting around Earth. The receiver then uses those signals to find where you are, with an accuracy of 6 to 12 feet. RTK works almost the same, except it involves 2 receivers on the ground. In a robo-mower's case, one lives inside the mobile mower and one in its static docking station. Both receivers take in location information from the GPS satellites, then compare that information with each other, resulting in a location reading that's accurate within a few centimeters. Landscapers use GPS in all sorts of ways, from mapping and planning their work to surveying potential job sites, which is where another high-flying tool can come in handy: a drone.
We have some experience with drones at our company. We use them for marketing.
But you could use them for a lot more. Things like surveying the properties.
Drones can survey a location thanks in part to tech known as LiDAR, which is like a radar, except instead of sending out electromagnetic pulses to determine an object's location or dimensions, LiDAR sends out laser beams, then measures their reflections to map out an environment. LiDAR images can help create an accurate, real-world view of a job site in just a few minutes.
What I learned today about the surveying, it kind of blew my noggin. That is an application that we can use. It's just about programming it. It is very, very important for us to continue to push the edge, see what's out there, see what's new, test ourselves, because you can't run a successful, growing business in a bubble.
As technology continues to change what's possible, keeping up with the newest improvements can be a challenge, but it's one that Donna is ready to face head-on. And now it's time for... Oh, wait, let me animate myself. Science Minute with Miranda Cosgrove. That's me. If dragons were real, would they actually be able to fly? Or would they drag on the ground? Quick, to the matheteria! For an animal to fly, it needs the right combination of weight, wing size, and flight speed. Basically, the heavier an animal is, the bigger its wings need to be, or the faster it needs to fly in order to stay airborne. So, to determine whether dragons could realistically fly, we scoured movies, TV shows, and video games to try to figure out those traits for as many fire breathers as we could find. It was a lot of dragons. Here's what we learned. Not a single dragon would be able to get off the ground. They don't even come particularly close. In fact, the average dragon in our database would either need to fly 10 times faster or have wings 45 times larger if they wanted to stay aloft in the real world. And frankly, it's probably a good thing dragons aren't realistic. Can you imagine the pet food bill? Welcome back. Before we go, we have one last thing.
My advice for any young people that want to get into STEM is to really take every opportunity you can to learn more about it. And that could be taking a class at school or getting involved in a club at school or in your community.
Listen to your inner curiosity, figure out what you're curious about, and have the confidence that you can figure out the technical and more challenging parts of the job.
If you get knocked down, you pick yourself back up, you try a different method of communicating, and you know that you have self-worth, and wake up the next day and try harder.
That's it for Mission Unstoppable. I'm Miranda Cosgrove, or her very convincing doppelganger. There's no way to tell. Scary to think about. Bye! If you're watching this, you must have really liked the video. Make sure you follow and subscribe, and check out these other videos that are even better. No, really. I've seen this one over 100 times.